Hello and welcome to the video. In this video we're going to take our first look at this new model from Hobby King. This is the DuraFly Messerschmitt BF.109E-4, or a lot of us will know it as a slightly different name, the ME109. Now this is one of those iconic planes from the Battle of Britain, and I have a couple of Spitfires already here, so when this opportunity to get my hands on the Messerschmitt came up, then of course I had to get one, and I had to get it in the Battle of Britain colours too. Now we'll have a look at how it comes in the box, and I'll go through some setup tips because I've only had this a couple of days, so I haven't really had a chance to put it through its paces in terms of flying and other things as well. But I think this is going to be a really good plane to also make a couple of additional videos, one on applying decals onto planes. A couple of subscribers have asked me about that, so this will be a perfect plane to do a little mini video on how to do that well, and also another video on how to set up scale planes like this that have things like retracts, more scale flap designs, bomb releases and those things, so that when you put everything on your radio it just kind of works first time without potentially overdriving any of the control surfaces. So there'll be another couple of videos on this thing. But in this one, I thought what I'd do is kind of document my experiences just taking this thing out of the box and setting it up. Now this model comes pre-installed with scale electric retracts. It's got the flaps and navigation lights on the wingtips as well. It's got a fully functional bomb drop. We'll have a look at that in a second. The bomb drop system is very elegant, and it's one when you see it you can think, oh, that's a really simple way to do it. I designed a little bomb drop thing and stuck it on Thingiverse a while ago, and looking at this one, there's a much easier way to do bomb drop that's going to be more reliable, and it's on this plane. So let's very quickly talk about the specs. So this thing is a 1100mm wingspan. Flying weight is about 1300 to 1400 grams, so it's about nearly 1.5 kilograms once you've got the battery in here. You're going to need a 4S 2200 milliamp hour pack. The motor in here is one of the Aerostar 3736 77 kV motors, spinning 11 by 5 by 8 three-bladed scale style prop. It's got a 50 amp ESC, and it's got loads and loads of servos pretty much everywhere because it's got lots of control surfaces and things you need to use. So let's talk about the unboxing experience. Now the first thing I noticed when I got the box here was how pretty the box art is. I've had a couple of things recently from a couple of suppliers where it's been a black and white box or even a cardboard box with very limited stuff printed on here, and you can see how pretty everything is. Now this plane is actually available in a couple of different colour schemes. I've got the one on the right for the Battle of Britain. There's also the one on the left as well, which is the Libyan Desert colour scheme. As somebody who already owns those Spitfires, I think it's got to be the Battle of Britain colours. Let's face it, I'm an English guy. It's going to work. So let me just put the radio here. You can see how big the box is. The trick when you open the box though, it's a little bit unusual from some of the other planes that I've had from Hobby King. First of all, have to take the bottom piece of cardboard off. It actually says on the cardboard that there's things underneath the cover, and because there's so much inside the box, they've actually snuck a couple of pieces underneath the foam enclosure for the plane as well. So take off the bottom part. You've got the exhaust vents that go on the side of the cowling, and put those to the side. We have the air intakes and the bomb drop, so those will go under the wing. Again, all nicely painted, and I think this is water-based paint. It has a really nice finish to it that looks very scale, and you get the bomb. Now this is all grey. I don't know whether I'm tempted to put some brighter colour on this. I have a friend in particular that loves bomb drop systems, so he will be over the moon when I tell him that this one comes with a bomb. So I might put some orange tape or something on it. I know that's not very scale, but this will be a bugger to find in long grass. Quite heavy actually, so it's nicely nose weighted, so it will fly quite realistically. Once we've got all that out, then we need to take the top off the box and get into the rest of the pieces. First thing you notice is the decal sheet. There's two lots of decals in here as well, and as I said, I think I'm going to do a whole different video to show the tips and tricks I use to get that on. I do find it interesting that all the swastikas on the plane are blacked out on the cover, but when you actually look at the decals inside the box, if you want to be authentically scale, then those swastikas are actually available for you to pop on the tail if you want to kind of match up with how these things were painted in the Libyan Desert and also for the Battle of Britain too. So we have our 3-bladed prop, quite a heavy, solid looking thing. I'll probably balance that before I fly it. There's no adjustable rake on this, it's one molded piece. Then we have the nose cone, again painted in the right color, so that's going to cover the prop. And then we have lots of tape to cut through to get to the main piece of the plane. Everything in here is very well packed. Everything is covered in this plastic, so hopefully that's going to stop anything being damaged as we move things around. So the first thing I'm coming across here is the main wing. Now the main wing is blooming heavy, and I'm guessing that is because it's got the retracts and the majority of the electronics in here. So we have the positions for those kind of cooling vents that need to be stuck on underneath. We have the scale style flaps, and then we have the servos without the control rods fitted for both the ailerons out at the tips of the wing and the flaps as well. And we have those beautiful scale retracts too. Everything is pretty free moving, but with any plane that's using foam hinges, make sure that you operate the hinges quite a few times before you start to put it together. I think I just knocked that as I took it out the case. Be very careful with the wingtips on this. There are protective plastic wingtips that go over the bottom from underneath. That's a really good idea, because that way it'll stop if you accidentally catch the end of a wing. You won't rip those pieces off. As usual, all of the cables are nicely labelled. I do like the way that Hobby King do that. And as you can see there's quite a chunk of carbon fibre throughout the wing for reinforcement as well, including on the section that's going to bolt underneath the plane. Rear tail feathers, again, nicely moulded scale detail. The finish on the paint, that kind of flat colour, is really nice. And the way this is going to go on is exactly the same as quite a few of the scale Warbirds that Hobby King have done recently. And again, just make sure that the hinges are worked a little bit, but that's going to go through the tail section of the model. Can't see any vertical stabilizer, so that must be moulded into the main body itself. And again, the main body is quite a chunky, heavy piece. Now this is made from EPO foam. That's that motor, that's the 3736 77 kV. We've got the little gun details over the nose, very cute. Nice scale looking pilot in there, looking out over the front. He looks far too happy to be in a fighter plane. He should be looking a little bit more aggressive. And then you've got the views down to the servos underneath for the elevator and the rudder. We'll come back to those in a sec, because you will need to get your eyes on those to set them at 90 degrees. Steerable tail wheel that's connected to the rudder. And then you've got a couple of scale details like that little nubbin on top of the vertical stabilizer that's there for your radio wire if you want to put one on. A little bag of bits. Now these are the braces for the horizontal stabilizer at the back. In there you also have the front radio antenna, airspeed sensor, things like that you can put on too. So there's loads of extra little scale details that will help this model absolutely look the part. So let's talk about how you actually put this thing together. There is loads of carbon fibre in this. There's carbon fibre by the sides of the opening, tons of room in the front for that 2200 4S battery, big carbon spars running all the way through, which is great to see, because these planes, if you do crash them in the nose, that's the first part that takes a bit of damage. In here we have the cables for the rudder, elevator, throttle as well. And then we have moulded pieces with brass inserts for us to put the wings in place. Lots of scale doohickeys in the bags too. This I think is the air intake for the supercharger. Really nice detail. It's actually open, so air can get inside the model through it. So when it's in place, it does look really nice. It's not just a moulded piece that actually doesn't have all the vents in there. There's some really nice fine detail. Now those are going to have to be glued in place, and I will glue them once I'm happy that I've got everything in the right place. Again, a big fan of these scale flaps. I'm going to have to undo this bit of tape, because these cables are going to have to go up into the body so that they can be connected to the receiver. Now this space in the middle is actually for the bomb drop. That's that recess that's right in the middle of the wing is for the bomb drop servo itself. And these covers that are going to go just in front of the flaps, and it's pretty easy which way around they go because they've kind of got recesses for you to glue them on. These will have to be stuck on as well. They don't have any double-sided tape. Some of the models that I've had recently from Hobby King have. These don't, so we'll need a little dab of glue to pop those on as well. Again, that's probably one of the last things I'll do in case I accidentally lie it down on the table. So the first thing we'll fit to the plane is let's pop the bomb drop on. Again, beautiful, simple mechanism here, just like a keyway that goes into the top of the bomb. And once you've got the bomb on, you just use those little screws to make sure that the bomb is nice and secure, not rattling around, but that can easily be detached. I'd recommend doing this at this point and adjusting the screws because the angle that they're at means it's a bit tricky once you've actually got it mounted on the bottom of the wing. To install the bomb drop, piece of cake, you just push the servo cable through the pre-cut hole underneath where the servo slot is, push it into place, and then with the 2 screws that come in the bag with the bomb drop, just snug it onto the bottom of the frame. Again, you don't need to hang off them, but just make sure that it's nice and secure. Installing the horizontal stabilizer at the back is as simple as always. Just guide the carbon fiber reinforcement rod that goes all the way through both pieces, through the hole in the tail, and then there's a piece at the back that's going to connect the 2 elevator pieces together so they operate in unison. These horizontal pieces are held in place by a couple of little screws that actually go in underneath. Be careful of that little radio antenna on the top. Whenever you're putting the plane upside down, I've got lots of bubble wrap and stuff around on the table as I'm moving the plane around to put it together. If you accidentally put too much pressure on that rear radio antenna support, you will damage it. So make sure that you're using lots and lots of soft material and wherever you're putting this plane together. Next job then is to snap all of the connectors onto the control surfaces. The rear steerable tail wheel was a little bit stiff on mine, but moving it a couple of times freed it up. It's adjustable using a nice brass set screw, and then you have the 2 exhaust pieces that just snap into place. The nice thing is on these, I wasn't sure which way round they went, but one of them quite nicely has a big L on the inside, so you know that that's the left hand one. So that's a really nice touch. Again, these will have to be glued with lovely scale detail. I like the fact that it's been done separately rather than trying to do it in the foam, because it gives a much crisper, cleaner, more authentic scale looking part to the cowling around the engine. The guns in the wings aren't attached by default. They come in the little bag of plastic bits, but they're just press fit into the holes that are already cut. I haven't felt the need to use any glue. They go in great, and on the end you've got the navigation LEDs that light when you power and plug in the receiver. So if we look at the plastic bits that come in that bag, the first piece that we'll look at is the front radio antenna. The camera will focus on it. It's got the little hole on the top, so that allows you to put a little string antenna in place. We have the airspeed sensor that will go under the wing, and then we have the light grey pieces are the brackets for the rear tail. The black bits here are the guns, and then we have some additional scale nubbins as well. So to put the bracket onto the rear tail, I'll just dry fit it here. I'm probably going to put a blob of glue in place just to make sure that it stays in position, but the tail on the ME109 is a lot higher than on the Spitfire, so these brackets will not only look the part but also help keep it nice and stable when it's flying as well. To fit the wing onto the plane is pretty straightforward. Just feed all the cables up through the pre-cut holes on the bottom of the body, and then it's held in place by the 4 screws going into those 4 enclosed brass nuts that are underneath, so it's nice and secure. There are 2 different sizes of screws. Be careful, and you'll find 2 bags in the kit, and just make sure that you're putting the right ones in the right place, because you need the bigger screws at the front and the thinner screws in the bottom 2 holes. Once the main wing's in place, then the last thing to do is to fit the prop. So put the back part of the prop on the shaft, make sure it's the right way round. It actually locks onto the hexagonal nut at the front of the motor. The clearance between it and the body is really nice and very uniform actually, so it does look the part, held on by a single nut. So make sure that that is nice and tight. And then you have the front part of the prop spinner that kind of encloses it, and then a single screw screws into the front of the shaft to hold everything in place to finish the model off. Speaking to Hobby King, it sounds like this model is going to be around the $170 mark, which is pretty much what you'd expect for this kind of scale Warbird. The initial impressions on this are very good. It is a very heavy model with that big motor at the front and those nice big electric retracts and all of the reinforcement in the body too. So it's going to be interesting to see how this thing flies. So stay tuned. Hopefully the wind will drop here in the UK and I can actually get this thing out and fly. I'm itching to run it around. The only thing, of course, is with the size of the wheels and the undercarriage is you are going to have to make sure at the local flying field that you have really flat grass to run it over, or you have some tarmac to take off and land on, because this isn't one of those planes that you're going to be able to belly land because of the size of the prop, and those nice scale looking wheels aren't going to cope with anything but nice short grass on level ground. So join me in a couple of weeks where I'll be able to do a more detailed review on what this thing is like to fly. If you found that video useful or like the content, then please hit the like and subscribe button down below. If you want to go the extra step, you can become a Patreon of the Painless 360 channel and help provide support for what I do here. All the videos created here are put into playlists, so if you're interested in a particular topic, have a look at the playlist, and they all are organised in there to make them easier to use. If you're not sure if there's a video for your particular problem or topic you want to know more about, then add Painless 360 to the Google search term that you're interested in, and that should find the video, article or content about the particular thing that you're interested in having a look at.